Hello everyone, this is Fazal Rabi. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we will learn about verbs and their types. We know that verbs are also known as action words, and we also know about the helping verbs, which do not show any action but are very important in a sentence. Now we will learn about various types of verbs according to the function they perform in a sentence. There are three types of verbs. Number one, action verbs are main verbs, linking verbs and auxiliary verbs, which are also known as helping verbs. The action verbs tell us what the subject is doing in a sentence. Action verbs answer the following question. What is the subject doing? For example, Sana is writing a letter. So, what is Sana doing? Sana is writing a letter. So, the action verb is writing. Ninja is driving a car. What is Ninja doing? Ninja is driving. So, the action verb is driving. Action verbs can be further classified into transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, dynamic verbs, and stative verbs. Transitive verbs are those verbs in which the action is being done upon an object. An object is always there along with the transitive verb. He is kicking the ball. Here the subject is he. And what is he kicking? He is kicking the ball. So the ball is the object of the action in this sentence. And kicking is a transitive verb as the action of kicking is done upon an object, ball. Now, what are intransitive verbs? There are also sentences in which the verb is not having any object. For example, the action is not done upon any object. For example, he plays every day. So, there is no object on which the action of playing is being done upon. Such verbs are called intransitive verbs. Here is another example. Carla is eating right now. Here we know that Carla is eating, but we do not know what Carla is eating. So, eating is an intransitive verb here. Remember, those verbs which have an object are called transitive verbs, and those which do not have an object after them are called intransitive verbs. Next category of verbs we have dynamic verbs. These verbs are used when there is an actual action or process happening in a sentence. For example, he is writing homework. Here, the act of writing homework is an action being done by the subject. This action of writing homework can be physically seen by someone. He wears cap. Here, the act of wearing cap by the subject can be physically seen. Now, let's learn what are stative verbs. These are the verbs that tell us about the state of mind of the subject or describe the situation he or she is in. They can also describe the relation between the subject and the object. These verbs do not tell about an actual action happening in a sentence. For example, he hates chocolates. Here, the hatred for chocolate describes the mental condition of the subject and not an action taking place. So, hates is a stative verb. The house requires a new coat of paint. Here, the subject is the house and the object is paint. The stative verb requires describe the relationship between the subject, the house, and the object, paint. So, we learn that action verbs or main verbs are divided into four categories: transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, dynamic verbs, and stative verbs. Transitive verbs have an object after them. Intransitive verbs do not have an object after them. Dynamic verbs tells us about an actual action taking place. And stative verbs mention those actions which cannot be physically seen. So we have learned about the action verbs or main verbs. Now the second category of verbs is the linking verbs. These verbs tell nothing about the subject, instead link the subject to a noun or an adjective. Let's take an example. Sana is beautiful. Here the subject Sana is linked by the verb is to adjective beautiful. So the verb is a linking verb. They are poor people. Here the linking verb are is linking the subject they to the adjective poor. So the verb are is a linking verb. The most common linking verbs are all the forms of the verb be. They have 7 other forms: is, am, are, was, were, been, and being. Verbs like smell, sound, turn, taste, seem, appear are also used as linking verbs, as they sometimes link a subject to its complement. For example, the egg smell rotten. Here the verb smell links the subject, the egg, to its complement rotten. So it's a linking verb. Here we have another example. You look exhausted. Here the verb look links the subject you to its complement exhausted. So it's a linking verb. Now we will be learning the third type of verbs, and they are auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. They are also divided into two types: primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries are the verbs used in forming the tenses and voices of other verbs. They include all the forms of the verbs be, do, and have. We already know that the verb be has 7 other forms: is, am, are, was, were, been, and being. The verb do has 2 other forms: did and done. And the verb have has 2 other forms: has and had. As we have learned in our previous sections, that helping verbs tell us about the tense and voice of the main verb. I am playing football. Here the verb am is a helping verb and it suggests that the subject is a singular first person and the tense is present tense. The other form of auxiliaries or helping verbs is modal auxiliaries. Modal verbs are used to indicate modality. Modality allows the speakers to express certainty, possibility, willingness, obligation, necessity, or ability. The following modal verbs are there in English language: can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, had to, ought to, used to, need, dare. We will learn about this in detail in our coming lectures. So far we have learned the category of verbs: action verbs or main verbs, linking verbs, auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. That's all for today. Thank you so much.